What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast, and a happy Friday to each and every one of you across the Delaware Valley and beyond. We've made it to another Friday, and if you're sitting here watching, or you're on your couch, or you are at work, or you are on vacation, or whatever you're doing, you scored just one less run than the Phillies did this week against the Houston Astros. So congratulations. You can use that on your resume. Scored one less run than the Phillies over a 3-game set. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here, Andrew Frazier producing today's show. We'll hear from Andrew in just a little bit. We have a ton to get into and an hour to do it. We have our Ace Hardware temp check, as always. 2 players, specifically from the same team, that I think the Phillies could be considering and may wish to target. No inside information, just a thought for me. And, of course, we have to talk about the story that came out this afternoon, maybe late this morning, whichever one you want to call it, about Max Kepler and Max Kepler's playing time. And we'll do that in just a little bit. We'll talk about the starting pitching versus the offense in this series. But before we start today's show, I want to remind you that you have just a couple of hours left. And I know that we are at a pretty good number so far, but we want to smash that number even further to RSVP to tonight's Flyers draft party, watch party, and show. It is the PHLY Broad Street Hockey crossover, so you will hear from Bill and Charlie and Kelly and Steve. Brenna, who's in the house now and getting ready for the show, she'll be producing. You'll meet all of our PHLY Flyers staff as well as all of the staff from the Broad Street Hockey crew. That is at Chicky and Pete's in South Philly with special guest Bernie Perrant. So I know that the Flyer show is still going on right now, so if you are hanging out with them, welcome on in just a little bit. And we'll get into all of that, or all of everything that I just laid out, coming up next right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast, which is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, an hour to get into things, a lot to talk about. Let's jump right into it, and we will start with this week's series against the Houston Astros. Now, if you were watching the NBA draft on Wednesday and Thursday night, or you decided to watch a TV show or catch up on a movie or watch reruns or, quite frankly, stare at the wall, you would have had more fun than what we did watching the Phillies over the last 3 days. Now, there's definitive good and definitive bad that came from this series, and they're very easy to spot. There's no context. There's no expected numbers. There's no computer-generated stats. There's no Tyler nerds out about this, that, or the third. The good was the pitching. The bad was the offense. And unfortunately, the Phillies found out the hard way that good pitching, when it's matched by other good pitching, can only take you so far. Now, we've said plenty of times that this Phillies starting rotation is going to probably single-handedly put the Phillies in the postseason. And I still believe that. This week's series doesn't change that. But starting pitching matched with no offense is a lot different than starting pitching matched with some offense. Good starting pitching will nullify bad offense. Good starting pitching can't nullify no offense. It's kind of like good goaltending can nullify bad offense, but good goaltending can't nullify no offense. So your goalie in hockey could stand on his head, but if your team doesn't score, the best you can hope for is 0-0. The same thing with good pitching. Your good pitching could stand on, throw a gem, as you saw from all 3 Philly starters this week, and you can still come up empty-handed because your offense doesn't produce. The reality is this weekend, the Phillies gave up 5 runs over 3 games. That's an average of 1.3 runs per game. They gave up 1, they gave up 2, and they gave up 2. And they lost all 3 games. Because over the course of 27 innings, they scored 1 run. So let's talk about the good, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the bad. The good was the starting pitching. It was phenomenal this week, and it showed you the good portion of what this starting rotation can do. It showed you the hope of a postseason run of this starting rotation matches up with every team in the league. Now, the Astros are not the world-class offense that they used to be. Still good at the top. They were missing Yordan Alvarez, of course, to injury. Still have Jose Altuve, who's on the downslope of his career, but still a good hitter. Still, Isaac Paredes is made for, it's not Minute Maid Park anymore. What is it? Dakin Park or whatever it's called now, wherever the Astros play. Minute Maid Park is what I will probably always refer to it as. But Isaac Paredes is made for that stadium. The Crawford box is in left, short porch. He's a dead pull hitter who is probably, he has 16 home runs right now. I'm surprised he doesn't have more, quite frankly. But that's the type of guy that's made for Houston. But their offense towards the bottom of the lineup is not the same that it used to be, right? There's no Kyle Tucker. There's no Alex Bregman. No Chase McCormick. Chaz McCormick, excuse me. So, instead, it was Taylor Trammell. It was Cooper Hummel. It was Victor Caratini. It was really whatever they were able to throw out there together. The offense isn't scary good. The pitching was excellent, but the Phillies starting rotation did a really nice job of humbling a Astros offense for 3 straight games. Starting rotation, Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler, and Christopher Sanchez. 3 starts, 19 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, and a loss. 19 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 13 hits, 5 walks. That's a .916 whip over 3 starts. 3 losses for the team, 2 losses and a no decision for the pitcher. So let's go back and do it night by night. Wednesday night, we talked about Ranger Suarez. We won't dive too deep into it. Or Wednesday afternoon, we did for Tuesday night's game. 7 2/3, an earned run, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. He had walked just 1 prior to that and immediately was able to wipe the base runner with a double play before Yanner Diaz had a base hit to lead off the 6th. That's what broke up the no-hitter. And we talked about this on Wednesday again, so we're not going to dive too deep into it, but Ranger got everything that he wanted on Tuesday night. He was the best player on the field Tuesday night and happened to throw 1 bad pitch, and it ended up being enough for the Astros to win this game 1-0. I thought the changeup was elite. I thought his command was on point from the jump. And with Ranger, as we talked about plenty, he got ahead. He stayed ahead. He kept his pitch count down. When Rob Thompson came out to go get him with 2 outs in the 8th, he threw 101 pitches. The 99th pitch of the night was the home run to Cooper Hummel. Prior to that, he had been nearly perfect. And he worked out of what little danger he had. He was in command. He was poised. He was controlled. And that's the pitcher that Ranger Suarez has now been for 9 consecutive starts. Phillies lose that game 1-0 because of the fact that their offense put together nothing. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Wednesday night, Zach Wheeler, 6 innings, 1 earned run. Probably could have been considered an unearned run, but 1 earned run, 4 hits, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. He also took a loss. He struggled with his command early. He threw 26 pitches in the 1st inning. He threw 47 pitches to get through the first 2 innings. And despite all of that, he ended up throwing 100 pitches to get through 6 because he threw 53 over the next 4 innings. He really, really battled in for a guy that didn't have his best stuff and didn't have his best command through the first 2 innings. I tweeted out after the 2nd inning, if the Phillies could get 5 from him on Wednesday night, I think that would be a blessing. And instead, Zach Wheeler does what Zach Wheeler does best, which is lock in and end up giving them 6 really strong innings. He ended up retiring 13 straight hitters from the first out in the 2nd inning to the first out in the 6th inning before giving up the next base runner. After giving up as many base runners as he did in the first 2, Zach Wheeler absolutely locked in and gave the Phillies a chance to win. His command was sharp after that. His stuff from the 3rd inning on was much, much better, and he gave them another opportunity to win. Instead, he took a loss, also 1-0. On Thursday afternoon, Christopher Sanchez kind of faced an uphill battle because not only was he going up against the fact that the Phillies offense stunk, but he was also going up against, in a pitching matchup, 1-on-1 against Hunter Brown, an American League Cy Young candidate who has been really, really good this year. So is Christopher Sanchez, and he was good again last night. Yesterday afternoon, I should say. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 hits, no walks, 11 strikeouts, and a no decision. June Christopher Sanchez is legitimately unhittable. So in his 5 starts this month, he's 2-1 with a 1.85 ERA. He's thrown 34 innings. He struck out 33 hitters, again, including 11 in yesterday's game, and has a .91 whip so far this month. In his career, he's 5-3 with a 1.77 ERA and a .877 whip in the month of June. Christopher Sanchez is an elite pitcher in his career over the month of June, and he was an elite pitcher again this month in June. So that'll be his final start in the month of June. His next start will happen, I believe, on July 1st. July 27, 28, 29. Yeah, I think it's July 1st. Either way, his next start comes in July. And what I find incredible about Christopher Sanchez is the fact that teams, really over the course of his career, but over this season specifically, teams have gone with such heavy right-handed hitting lineups, which makes sense because he's a lefty, but it actually doesn't really matter for Christopher Sanchez because his best pitch is his changeup. His neutralizer is a right-handed hitting neutralizing pitch. It's his changeup. It's been so good this year. It's been so good over the course of his career. His sinker's better this year. His breaking ball is better this year. And because of that, Christopher Sanchez has stepped up probably into the near elite category. I'm not going to call him elite just yet because I hold that to just a couple of pitchers. I hold that to Wheeler, to Skubal, to Skeens. But Christopher Sanchez is probably in tier 2 at this point. And I know we talked about this on Wednesday, the Christopher Sanchez can't pitch on the road thing might be a dead conversation. This year so far, he's 4-2 with a 2.42 ERA on the road in 9 starts. Opponents are hitting .236 against him on the road. It's .222 at Citizens Bank Park. Not that much of a discrepancy, just a little bit better on the road than they are, than his numbers when he's on the road than he is at home. On-base percentage is exactly the same, .297, both at Citizens Bank Park and away from Citizens Bank Park. He's only given up 2 home runs on the road in 9 starts this year. Now, his strikeouts are better at home than they are on the road, but he's still been really, really good on the road this season. So in total, 19 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 13 hits, 5 walks, 26 strikeouts, and nothing to show for it. Because the offense was, as Principal Skinner showed in the thumbnail of today's show, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic offensive showing. I will be honest with you. I have been a Phillies fan, a cognitive functioning Phillies fan, not just a rah-rah Phillies are cool because I like baseball, for probably 23, 24 years now, right? Probably like 2001, 2002, where I could like cognitively understand the game. I've seen some really bad baseball teams. Not as bad as my father has, not as bad as the generation above me has, but I have seen some really bad Phillies teams. I don't know if I have seen an offensive performance over a series as lackluster and pathetic as what we saw this week. I truly do not know. And that's not to say that I think the Phillies are hurting or dead or I should be concerned. It's one series against a good pitching staff. You faced Hunter Brown. You faced Framber Valdez. 2 really good starters in their own right. You can't hit. It's clear this Phillies team can't hit Framber Valdez, and nobody's hit Hunter Brown this season. So, with that being said, I am not going to sit here and like, sky is falling, woe is me, oh my gosh, this team is cooked. But we do have to take a look at this series and talk about what went wrong offensively, which was everything. Literally everything. Now, we talked on Wednesday about the fact that the Phillies on Tuesday night hit a lot of balls hard and maybe got a little bit unfortunate. Now, they had 15 of the 19 hardest hit balls on Tuesday night, and then followed that up on Wednesday with 12 of the 16 hardest hit balls on Wednesday night. Yesterday, totally different story. They hit 1 ball hard. But no matter if you're hitting the ball hard or not making good contact or making good contact, if you're not hitting in clutch situations, it's not going to matter. The Phillies had multiple situations on Tuesday night, on Wednesday night, and on Thursday night. They dug themselves holes. Actually, let me rephrase that. Let's shift that. They had opportunities and then dug themselves holes. There was a point in Tuesday night's game where the Phillies had runners on first and second with nobody out, and with 1 out, and Kyle Schwarber was up. And Kyle Schwarber hit a ball that Christian Walker made a really nice play on, but Schwarber hustled down the line, beat it out for an infield base hit. Then it was Alec Boehm with the bases loaded and nobody out. Boehm got out, Castellanos was out, inning was over. Ground ball strikeout, inning was over. That was it. That was the end of the game to me. Because then Josh Hader came into the game for the second straight night, shut them down, and that was it. Over 27 innings in this series, the Phillies scored 1 run So me and Andrew and AC Philla and Peeling Onions and Ray Schumacher and K-Red, and I'm just noticing that YouTube did something weird with people's names all of a sudden, where it's not their names anymore, it's their handles.
Yeah, it started this morning on Anthony's show.
Very weird.
I don't know why they changed it, but
That's very
they
strange.
did, YouTube.
But whether you're me or you, Andrew, or anybody in the chat, we collectively, we could put a 9-person lineup together and we scored one less run. Because this team was dead in the water this weekend. 15 hits over 3 games, but 7 of those hits came in 1 game, so 8 over the last 2. Tuesday night, they were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They left 9 guys on base. Wednesday night, they were 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They left 7 men on base. And yesterday, they left 3 runners on base and did not have a single registered at bat with runners in scoring position. Brandon Marsh had a sacrifice fly. Obviously doesn't count as an at bat. It was the only run they scored. It was the only day they scored, but it doesn't count as a registered at bat. So they were 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position, and the one was the Kyle Schwarber base hit that I talked about that led to nothing after that. It was a dreadful, dreadful, dreadful offensive performance this week. And again, faced Hunter Brown, elite pitcher this year. Faced Framber Valdez, elite pitcher this over the last 3-4 years now, who's had your number, including in a postseason game where the Phillies were no hit. This offense yesterday and this week, Andrew, and I know you guys talked a little bit about it on Anthony's show today. I'm not doom and gloom. I'm not sky is falling. We are midway through the season. There are still 81 games left to play. This was the worst offensive performance of the year, without question, and it's one of the worst offensive performances I've seen pretty much in my lifetime.
Yeah, it was rough. There's no two ways about it. It was rough, and especially against one of the 4 teams that had some of the best records right now in baseball, to lose to Houston in the fashion that they did. I mean, the pitching was superb.
Excellent.
I mean, not one of the pitchers looked bad. Everyone pitched well. It was just the bats went cold. And it's really tough to see that because we've seen this team do this so many times before in the past where they go on these streaks. They're hitting, they're playing, they're winning, they're doing all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden they hit a wall and then they cannot find ways to produce any runs. And this was one of those series where they just could not find a way to get anyone home.
It was and you know what I think what bothered a lot of fans, and it bothered me in this one too? The at-bats were bad. Like, in particular, one thing we've talked a lot about is the Phillies have done a better job. It was much better in April and May. It's started to revert back in times and spots in June. Have done a better job this year of not chasing as much, especially not flailing as much, like the Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, like flail over the heart of the plate at a breaking ball type of at-bats. Nick Castellanos' at-bats, especially the one he had last night, were not good in this series. And I'm not going to pinpoint just him. Everybody was bad. But there were some really awful plate selection, like plate discipline was terrible this week. And now they've got to go up against the Braves team who, like, they've got Bryce Elder tonight, but then it's Schwellenbach and it's Strider, and Strider's been much better since the last time he's faced the Phillies. Schwellenbach has been good all year. You're going to have to get to Elder tonight because if you let this thing balloon into 4 straight bad offensive performances, it could very quickly become 6 straight bad offensive performances. So tonight, obviously, we'll talk more about the Brave series in a little bit. Just a brutal, brutal offensive week paired with one of the best starting pitching weeks I've seen or series I've seen in a really long time. So hopefully it balances itself out a little bit. We'll see what happens with the Brave series tonight. All right, got a lot to get into, including our Ace Hardware Temp Checks segment. We'll talk about one team in particular that I think the Phillies are going to end up speaking to at the trade deadline. I do want to ask, though, are the 2 players that I've headlined worth the return that they're going to cost? We'll talk about that, and we have some fun stuff to end the show, including a really fun barroom type conversation question about baseball that my wife asked me the other night. I don't think I've talked to you about this, Andrew, so it'll be a little bit of a surprise. And I need to B and C about one thing in particular that's gone on across the world, and I know me and Andrew have gotten a lot of it over the last couple of nights.
Oh, yeah.
It is the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Let's pause for just a moment right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. And let's talk about Bet365, our presenting sponsor. And, of course, our friends over at Bet365 are the in-game betting pioneers. And 90 million users worldwide have found out why it is the place to be and the place to make your bets as games unfold. Because every single one of the games this series with Philadelphia and Houston could have been resolved if you just hit the under to start the game. But even if you didn't, lines change all the time. There was a point where the under in Tuesday's game, Andrew, was 2.5. And it cashed because it was 1-0. But you can get in on all the spreads, all the totals, all the player props. You can bet on if the next player to bat is going to get a hit or draw a walk or hit a home run. You can do it all at Bet365. And, of course, new users sign up now using the promo code PHLY365. Deposit just $10 and place a bet for $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. And you can find out why, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk to you about one of my favorite companies. It's a company that I truly, genuinely, personally endorse. It is Shady Rays, because you know that when you're outside, especially this week, the sun has been blazing. And if you're like me and your eyes get really, really difficult to see and they get irritated with the sun, it's never a better time to get a pair of Shady Rays because they're sleek, they're stylish, and of course you get those polarized lenses with crystal clear optics, but more importantly, the lenses that protect your eyeballs from the sun as we creep into the 90s throughout most of the Delaware Valley. But with your Shady Rays, it's not just about how your eyes are going to feel, it's how you're going to look as well. They have tons of different styles, whether you're looking for sporty, sleek, aviator, classic, they have you covered in every single style and every single color scheme. So you're going to find the pair that works best for you. They are the eyewear company that has your back. Find out why over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, including myself. And of course, we've teamed up with Shady Rays to give you an incredible exclusive offer that you see at the bottom of your screen there. Head on over to shadyrays.com. Use the code PHLY for 35% off your pair of polarized sunglasses. Once again, that's shadyrays.com for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier here. Hello to everybody in the chat, including AC Philla, K-Red, Peeling Onions. Who else has been here today so far? Ray Schumacher. Appreciate all of you for being here. A happy Friday to each and every one of you. I hope you have an excellent weekend ahead. I know the weather's supposed to be, up and down. A little bit of rain this afternoon, a little bit of rain tomorrow morning, but I think after that it should clear up a little bit. And I'm really excited for a nice weekend ahead after a blazing week of weather that we just had. All right, let's get into our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services. They are the helpful hardware folks that bring the helpful hardware services that you love in the store right to your front door, all the way from Philadelphia to the Jersey Shore. And of course, our Ace Hardware Temp Check segment is where we check in on a player who is heating up or is cooling down. And today, unsurprising, the player that's cooling down, not just because of their play on the field, but because of an article that dropped recently, it's Max Kepler. Max Kepler, so far this season, is slashing 209, 300, 383 with a 683 OPS. In 235 at-bats so far this season, he has 9 home runs and 27 RBI. Now, the numbers are what they are. He's not been particularly good this year. But on top of that, now, Max Kepler told Matt Gelb of The Athletic that he said, quote, "The biggest challenge, I was told I was going to be the starting left fielder." He said that he felt coming into this season, after making $10 million and signing a 1-year deal, he was going to play a bulk of the games. Now, he has started so far this year 60 of the 81 games the Phillies have played, but 57 of those 60 starts have been against right-handed starters. So it's no secret, A, what Rob Thompson generally does with platoon players, and B, what Max Kepler's role has been this year so far is that Max Kepler is the starting left fielder against right-handed pitching. Which, follow up to the comments that he made, he basically said, it becomes difficult. He said, quote, the biggest challenge for me is not playing routinely. And I'm going to say this, before we get into the numbers and before we throw Max Kepler under the bus, I'm going to say this. I genuinely understand Max Kepler's frustrations. I do. Max Kepler was sold a bill that has not been delivered. Max Kepler was told that he was going to be an everyday left fielder, and he signed for $10 million, and that showed to me that he was going to play more than a handful of times a week, probably closer to 5 or 6 times a week. My expectations for him was somewhere in the high 130s. My expectation was 135, 138, maybe get close to 140. And right now, through 81 games, he's on pace to play in 121 games, or 120 games, excuse me. So I get where he's coming from. It is hard to get into a rhythm if you are not an everyday player who is expecting to be an everyday player. Here's the problem. Here's the issue that I am finding with Max Kepler. He's not producing. If he were producing, he would have an argument. If he would have split levels that told you he was hitting against left-handed pitching, he would have an argument. If his numbers suggested that he was playing well, he would have an argument. So far this year, obviously much smaller sample size. He only has 45 at-bats against left-handed pitching this season. He has reverse splits. He has a better batting average, a worse on-base percentage, but a just slightly worse slug. So really, reverse splits, I say, his average is better against lefties than it is against righties. However, against right-handed pitching this year so far, he's slashing 205, 307, 389. He has 39 hits, 19 of which are extra base hits, and 22 of his 27 RBI have come against against right-handed pitching. Here's the problem. It's not just the fact that he's not producing, because that's priority number one, right? Like, if he were producing, and I was never expecting him to be a 30 home run guy, right? Coming off of the injury, my thought was, hey, maybe a little bit of under the radar pop in terms of like a return to form a little bit in terms of, say, I was never expecting him to be the guy that hit, what do you have, 24 home runs in 2023, but I think it was 2021 was his big year in terms of home runs. No, sorry, 2019. He hit 36 home runs. I was never expecting him to be a 36 home run guy, especially considering I didn't expect him to play 155 games. But what I was expecting out of Max Kepler was professional at-bats, which you've seen at times this year. He's kind of fluctuated in terms of his plate discipline and his plate approach. What I was expecting from Max Kepler was more than a platoon piece, less than a pen, name written in pen in the lineup. What I was expecting from Max Kepler was a guy to play about 130, 135 games, assuming he stayed healthy, and to have about 22-ish home runs. But more importantly, I was looking for more of a guy to hit along the course of his career stat line, his career slash line, which was to hit about 240, which was to have an on-base percentage of about 320, and was to slug about 420. So far, he's about 30 points below his career average. He's about 20 points below his career on-base percentage, and he's about 40 points below his career slug. He's not doing himself any favors in terms of his productivity. And his argument, of course, is going to be he was sold a bill of goods that he was going to be the everyday left fielder, and it's hard to compete, and it's hard to produce, and it's hard to stay involved when you are not playing every day when you expected to play every day. You want to change that narrative? Play better. That's like, I know that that's an oversimplification of things. That is me being like low-hanging fruit, attacking a guy because he had an article come out. But the reality of the situation is, of the guys that are playing not every day, and by the way, Max Kepler has appeared in 72 of the 81 games. Andrew, I don't know about you. 72 of 81 for a guy who is kind of a platoon piece at this point. That's way more than platoon games. Now, I know that means he's pinch hit in some games. Now, like, he started in 60, he's played in 80, in 72, which means he's come off the bench 12 different times. But he was asked to be about 135, my estimation, 135, 140 games. Maybe that was more towards 135 starts, but he's only not appeared in 9 games this season so far. He's hitting 209. I'm not entirely sure what his gripe is here.
I wish I knew as well. I wish I could tell you why he's upset. I mean, his numbers are not justifying his playing time right now. So, I mean, it's understandable what Topper's doing. I don't know I don't know. I mean, I get it. I understand. I mean, he came here thinking that he was going to be every day. But
Sure.
9 games?
Well, right. It's 9 games that he's not appeared in, and it's 21 games that he hasn't started.
Yeah.
So you brought in a guy who is coming off of an injury. You were hoping for a bounce back type of season. And you spent $10 million because that was, I guess, what the going rate for Kepler was going to be, because I think he probably would have started in other places. Now, are those other places bad teams looking for a veteran player? Like, I would love to know what other offers Max Kepler had. Now, we're never going to know, but I would love to know what the other offers that Max Kepler had. Were they similar money to play on a bad team? Were they less money to play on a good team? Or were they similar money to play on a good team, right? Like, because if the Mets had offered him, or the Braves, I bet you the Braves put an offer in for him. The Braves ended up signing Jorge Soler, which obviously Soler has been a much better player over the last 2 years and hasn't been hurt. Now, of course, he had the PEDs thing. But I would guess that the Braves, who were in need of an outfield bat, probably put an offer into him. But did they put an offer into him for the Alex Verdugo role that they had to shift to because of Soler getting hurt? Was it closer to $4 or $5 million to be a bench piece or a platoon piece, right? Like, obviously, we're never going to know what Kepler's other offers were. But my guess was when you sign for $10 million, your expectation is you're going to play probably 5 times a week. And so far, based on his games played, he's played about 5 times a week. Based on his games started, he's played about 4 times a week. Some weeks 5, 6, some weeks 3, 4. Like this week, he hasn't played much because they faced Hunter Brown, because they faced Framber Valdez, and they faced Alcantara, right, earlier in the Marlins series. So a handful of power arms, right, who it made sense that he wasn't going to play against, because it was a handful of power arm. And no, I'm sorry, he pitched against, or he hit against Alcantara. Alcantara's righty. But my point is, he hasn't played against lefties as much, but he has started in 60 games so far this year. I don't know exactly what else more he was looking for.
I'm not sure.
All right. Real quick, I gotta ask. Pat, talking about me? If you're in a different mindset than me on Max Kepler, totally cool. Totally understand. Maybe it's something about the chat. I might have missed it. We could certainly have a conversation. You don't have to walk away. We could talk about if you're in a different mindset than me on Max Kepler. That's totally okay. We can have a conversation. Maybe it's something in the chat though. I might have missed it. All right. Anyway, this was our Ace Hardware temp check. I don't want to derail the segment. This was our Ace Hardware temp check. I am not entirely sure what Max Kepler's expectations were, other than he said he wanted to play more consistently. And the way that you fix consistency, the way that you get consistency, is play a little bit better. And I know that's an oversimplification to things, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it. All right, let's pause. On the other side, and the name got brought up in the chat. I think Peel and Onions brought it up. I know you were hanging out with us today on John's show, so you know who I'm talking about. But if you didn't hear me on John's show today or hear John's show today, there's 2 players on the same team that I wonder, especially with a team that Dave Dombrowski has a relationship with, that I wonder if he may make a phone call for. And I think the question is going to become, are they going to have to overvalue those 2 players? because of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. We'll do that on the other side. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be back in just a moment right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. All right, if you're a small business owner and you're looking to hire, we know the place that you want to go. Of course, it is Indeed, and it is LinkedIn and LinkedIn Jobs. You can scratch that from the record, right, Andrew? We're not live, right? I didn't just say the wrong company name. No, okay, just making sure. It is LinkedIn and LinkedIn Jobs. Pardon me, LinkedIn. Don't fire us as a client. I apologize. No matter if you're looking to hire or you are the one looking to get hired, LinkedIn Jobs has you covered. The hiring partner in LinkedIn Jobs, when you clock out as a small business owner, you want LinkedIn to clock in. They want to help you find the best qualified applicants possible. They're going to help you post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. You can post your job for free, or you can pay to promote your job, and Promoted Jobs will help you get 3 times more qualified candidates. You're going to get those qualified candidates that are the most important thing to your small business. You'll find out why 2.5 million small businesses, have used LinkedIn for hiring today. Of course, you're going to find that 72% of small businesses that use LinkedIn say that LinkedIn helps them find the high quality candidates. Post your job for free or do it by promoting it online at linkedin.com/Phillies. Once again, that is linkedin.com/Phillies to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. My bad. Sorry about that. We can straighten this. This isn't live. Right? We're just me and you talking, Andrew, right?
Yeah.
All right, anyway, let's do this one. GLAT hair restoration. Johnny Marks talks about GLAT hair all the time because if your hairline has been slipping and you're thinking about doing something about it, you can listen up and listen to not just me, but to John Marks as well, because he's the living, walking testament of how good his hairline looks and how much they have helped him along the way. But the thing about GLAT that is the best portion of this whole conversation is you don't have to go overseas. You don't have to spend big money to travel and book hotels and book accommodations. You can do it right in your backyard. Bala Cynwyd is where our friends over at GLAT Hair by Morgenstern Medical in Bala Cynwyd are located. Board-certified surgeons with over 30 years of experience, and they follow strict U.S. safety standards and deliver results that actually last. And the best part is you can text them right now a photo of your hairline, and they're going to walk you through an individualized process. It's going to be step-by-step from your initial consultation all the way through the process, all the way through to your follow-up appointments. And they may say to you, hey man, you don't necessarily need a hair restoration process done just yet. Let's walk through some other steps. Let's talk about TED treatment. Let's talk about some less invasive processes that could get you to where you want to go. Maybe we eventually get to the hair restoration procedure, but we're not there just yet. And that's the best part about working with GLAT is they want to treat you like you, not a number, not a faceless patient and just in and out. They want to treat you to the best of their ability and to do the process that works best for you. So skip the travel and skip the risk. Get real care from a trusted local team. Text your photo or call 610-980-4000 or visit them at gladhairmm.com. Once again, that's GLAT Hair by Morgenstern Medical. Let's get that hairline back in the game. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, so this next segment is going to be called The Angels in the Outfield. Because I know Dave Dombrowski has a working relationship with the LA Angels in making moves before. The Phillies have acquired Brandon Marsh, of course, in the trade that they sent Logan O'Hoppe to. They have acquired Carlos Estevez last year in a trade that sent both Sam Aldegheri and George Clausen to the Los Angeles Angels. And I wonder if the Angels would be willing to be trade partners with the Philadelphia Phillies once again, and with Dave Dombrowski once again, in the acquisition of one of 2 outfielders that I think the Angels could be willing to shop. So I've pinpointed 2 players on the Angels that I think the Phillies would be interested in because they fit a mold that is what the Phillies are looking for. What the Phillies are looking for is an outfield power bat, especially a right-handed hitting outfield power bat. It just so happens that the Angels have 2 of them. Let's start with a guy that the Phillies have thought about and have been connected to in recent trade deadlines, especially in last year's trade deadline, And the name once again comes up because the Angels are starting to falter just a little bit. They're hanging around 500, but they're exactly 500 at 40-40. But a name that has come up a lot for the Phillies over the last couple of, over the last offseason and last trade deadline, and is now back at it once again, is Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward in 78 games so far this year has just shy of 300 at-bats. You see his split, his slash lines, 208, 278, and 460. But the selling point for Taylor Ward, and the reason that Phillies fans have called for Taylor Ward for each of the last 2 seasons, are the 19 home runs and the 53 RBI. 36 extra base hits, gap-to-gap power, home run power is there. Is team-controlled or team arbitration eligible for one more season before becoming a unrestricted free agent after the 2026 season into the 2027 season. On the right there, you see his baseball savant numbers. There's a lot of blue there. But the thing that stands out for Taylor Ward, of course, is the pop. Average exit velocity is good. Average expected slugging is good. And he doesn't chase a lot. But my worry with Taylor Ward, and the reason as to why I think the Phillies have been in consideration for Taylor Ward, is the home runs. But my worry about Taylor Ward are the high strikeout rates. There are a lot to look at that stat line there, and you go, he's only hitting 208. Is a sub 300 on base percentage. Slugging is excellent because of the 36 extra base hits and the 19 home runs. But my concern with Taylor Ward is the fact that he is going to drive Phillies fans nuts with the amount of strikeouts and the amount of at-bats that end in strikeouts for him specifically. He's in the 15th percentile of K rate this year. He's striking out about 27% of the time. His whiff rates are okay. They're at about the 61st percentile, and he doesn't chase a lot, so he knows the zone well. But it's a guy who strikes out, to me, way too much to trade significant assets for. And you're going to look at it and go, Tyler, nobody on the Phillies, and thank you, Andrew, we can drop the graphic. I appreciate it. Nobody on the Phillies is on pace for 20 home runs with the exception of Kyle Schwarber. Taylor Ward's next home run will be his 20th. Definitely fair. Gaps power is there. You see his spray chart, hitting to all fields. 5 home runs to the opposite field this year. 6 home runs to dead center field, and 8 home runs to left field. Spray chart is significant in terms of the fact that the power is there to all fields. But it's a guy who already has 90 strikeouts this year. It's a guy who is on pace to strike out almost 180 times this season so far and only walk 60 times. And I understand people are going to be enamored with Taylor Ward because he provides pop that the Phillies don't have. They don't have it in left field. We talked about Max Kepler. Brandon Marsh has hit better as of late. Not a lot of pop out of his bat. They don't have it in center field, whether it be Brandon Marsh again or Johan Rojas. And in fact, they really don't have pop anywhere in the lineup with the exception of Kyle Schwarber, because Bryce Harper even is not on pace for 20 home runs because of the injuries that he's sustained and the time that he has missed. But even with Bryce Harper back in the lineup, Nick Castellanos is not hitting home runs the way that he did when he first joined the team. He's become more of a doubles hitter. JT Realmuto's power has been sapped. My thought with him has always been, I want him to be a gaps hitter. I want him to be a doubles hitter. Same thing with Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm, I found myself in the Alec Bohm defense portion of the fan base now because his bat-to-ball numbers have been good. He's not whiffing a lot. He's not chasing nearly as much. And his average is up, off the top of my head, I would say he's about 280 right now. But he's been much better in May and June than he was over the month of April. But this team does not have a power profile bat in its lineup. And I understand with power profiles comes swing and miss. I understand that the Phillies are devoid of power. And no, Ray, I did not mean 20 home runs by the break. I meant the fact that no Philly is on pace for 20 home runs in the season, with the exception of Kyle Schwarber. They may have a player, they may only have one player who hits 20 home runs this year. Now, Harper could come back and hit you 12 in the second half and get to 20. Certainly possible. But right now, they do not have a single player who is on pace for 20 home runs other than Kyle Schwarber. I get that the value is there for a power bat. I also understand that Taylor Ward is an average defender. He's in the 63rd percentile of outs above average, and he's at an arm value that's not particularly strong. Not a great arm, fine defender. He's hitting 208. His on-base percentage is 278, and his strikeout rates are really, really bad. Taylor Ward has been connected to the Phillies for 2 years now, and I really would not be willing to move significant prospects for this player. I understand that for a lot of people, they are going to hold Dave Dombrowski's feet to the fire. They are going to say, do not pro clutch. You need a power bat. Go find a power bat. I don't think this guy's it. And I know a lot of people would disagree. Taylor Ward's name comes up. I've seen a lot of Brent Rooker recently, which doesn't make any sense considering the A's just signed him to a 5-year deal. Would I love Brent Rooker's bat in this lineup? Without a second's hesitation, he would probably be the best power hitter in this lineup, not named Kyle Schwarber. He might be one of the top 2 hitters in this lineup, including Kyle Schwarber, immediately if he stepped onto this team. The A's aren't moving him. They just signed him to a 5-year extension. And I know the A's are playing some really bad baseball right now, but they're starting to develop a core that they're not gonna move. They're not moving him. They're not moving Butler. There's a couple of guys on that team that they're not gonna move. But just another, that's the name you would move prospects for, is Brent Rooker, right? It's not gonna happen. The A's aren't moving him. Taylor Ward, I just don't think I'm moving significant prospects for. And then the second angel in the outfield is a guy that I have been it's the fantasy football player that you wait to break out, that you wait to break out, that you wait to break out. And I have been waiting on this guy forever. And I guess this is his breakout, is Joe Adell. Joe Adell, 17 home runs this season, 41 RBI, 25 extra base hits. He's hitting a little bit better average-wise, 230. His OBP is a little bit higher at 306, slugging about the same. OPS is about the same. He's played in 73 games, has 230 at-bats. He has 2 years of arbitration left before becoming a free agent in 2020. Joe Adell has been a highly coveted prospect for 5 years now. And last year, he hit 20 home runs in 400 at-bats, but only hit 207 with a 280 on-base percentage. His slug was 402 and an OPS below 700. This year, Joe Adell's OPS is much closer to 800. The doubles have improved a little bit. The home run, the pop is undeniable. But the conversation about Joe Adell is the exact same conversation that we have been having for years about Joe Adell, and it's the same one that we just had with Taylor Ward. This guy strikes out a lot. 29.7% of his at-bats, 25% of his at-bats he struck out in, and his whiff rate is 29.7%. He's in the 17th percentile. He is chasing a lot. He's not squaring the ball up. Now, unlike Taylor Ward, who has a below-average bat speed, Joe Adell has some of the fastest hands in baseball. He's in the 99th percentile with a 77.4% average miles per hour bat speed. He barrels a lot of baseballs. When he hits the ball hard. His expected slugging is in the 96th percentile, and his expected on-base percentage, or weighted on-base percentage, is in the 89th percentile. This is a guy that I have waited to mature and waited to kind of come into his own as a hitter because the power is undeniable. He really struggled in years past with consistency, with batting average, with the fact that he was not putting enough balls in play. If you go back to last year, his strikeout rate was even worse. It was in the 15th percentile. Go back to 2 years ago. It was even worse. He struck out 40% of his at-bats over a small sample size in 2023. There's a reason he continually gets sent down to Salt Lake and called back up, and sent down to Salt Lake and called back up, because Joe Adell has struggled with consistency over the years. Is he starting to turn the corner? This is the guy that if the Angels are parting with an outfielder, this is the guy I would consider. I'm not moving crazy prospects for him, right? Like, this isn't Justin Crawford for Joe Adell. But if the right return on investment is there, this is the player that I would consider. Now, Joe Adell is not a good defender. He makes highlight reel play. Let me rephrase that. Joe Adell makes highlight reel plays, but on the routine, His range is below average. He's a -3 on range. He's a -1 on arm value. His arm strength is right at about league average. He makes some crazy plays. He also doesn't make routine plays at times. Big body bat, could profile as a play some center field, play some left field, depending on where you want to situate him. His strikeout rates are still there. Don't get me wrong. He is currently on pace for about 125 strikeouts, which is right along cue where he was last year. But if I'm picking one of these two guys, it is unquestionably Jo Adell, because of the fact I think the upside is significantly higher. He's at 17 home runs through his first 73 games. He's on pace for 32, I guess that is. He's been much better against righties. He's a type of guy who hasn't faced a lot of lefties this year. But I think Jo Adell right now is an upgrade from Max Kepler. He's not an everyday outfielder right now. He only has 45 at-bats himself. Same exact number as Max Kepler against left-handed pitching. But if I'm going for a guy with upside against righties, I would choose Jo Adell over Max Kepler. Now, this is Jo Adell facing righties because he's playing more against righties, right? He's a right-handed bat, and his numbers are actually better, batting average and OBP, against righties than they are against lefties. Now, slug and OPS is higher against lefties. But my point is, if I'm thinking about these two guys, Taylor Ward is like I'll give you a couple mid-round a couple of middling prospects for him. I'm not moving big-time prospects for Taylor Ward, who has 1 year left on his arbitration. Jo Adell, I would not move significant prospects for, but of the two, I would substantially be more excited about Jo Adell than I would about Taylor Ward, because I think the upside with Jo Adell is there, and I think Taylor Ward has hit his ceiling. They're both pretty similar players. They profile the same. High power numbers, high strikeout numbers, low batting average. But if I'm taking one of these two guys, the guy I'm considering is Jo Adell. And that is our Angels in the Outfield segment, because I think that the Phillies are going to talk to the Angels in some capacity about these two guys. All right, let's pause for just a moment. We're going to have some fun on the other side. Sorry, I got derailed a little bit there. My brain shut off for a second. But on the other side, we got a couple of things we want to get into in our overtime portion, but we'll do that on the other side. This is the PHLY Phillies podcast, and we'll be back right after this. All right, we're not going to mess up this read, I promise, because Empire today provides you with the flooring experts to get the job done right. We've all been to the big box stores before, thinking about wandering the aisles aimlessly. Maybe you do find what you're looking for, but then you got to lug it home all yourself. You've got to set up the contractors. You've got to set up installation, and it's just a hassle. So do it right with our friends over at Empire today, because they're the flooring experts with dedicated flooring professionals who focus strictly on flooring every single day. You'll get precise measurements taken on your in-home estimate. You're going to get all of your questions answered by flooring professionals, so there are no surprises. You're going to get the right flooring and the right colors for your space. You'll see exactly how it looks in your house with your furniture, and know kind of exactly what you're getting into before you make your final decision. And with Empire today, you're going to get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. TrueMark Financial, speaking about upfront, honest pricing. Speaking about saving you money. Speak about your finances. That's where TrueMark comes into play. And with summer being here, that means that your kids are out of school and maybe they're hanging out with friends or picking up a summer job. It is the perfect opportunity for you to teach your kids some financial literacy and give them some real-world money skills and a little bit of financial freedom as well. It's the Greenlight debit card app. Greenlight debit card and money app. So here's how it works. If you're a TrueMark financial member, you can get a free Greenlight account for your kids or your teens. It's a simple way for them to manage their own money, whether it's for the job, it's from the allowance that you give them, it's some birthday cash, right? And they'll get their own debit card, so they're going to be able to spend their own money. But also, they can set savings goals, track spending, and learn how to budget, all while you stay in the loop from your phone. So you're still in control, but they get to learn how real money works in the real world. So before the summer rush kicks in, it's a great opportunity to help your kids build some smart money habits that'll stick with them long after the season's over. So head on over to TrueMark.com/Greenlight, get all the details, and sign up today. Don't miss a chance to set your kids up for financial success. All right. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right, Andrew. I've had this happen to me quite a bit. You got one right before the show came on.
I got it in the form of a text.
Oh, so they're texting you now, too.
They're texting me now. Yeah.
That's just freaking lovely.
Yeah, it's great.
Anybody else out there in the chat tired of the spam calls? And it's not just spam calls anymore. It is the same exact spam call. This is my voicemail log. And I cut this picture on Monday. There's been more since. Look at the timestamps and look at the locations. Multiple times the entire country of the United States has called me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing a call from somebody important. I don't know. But I've gotten calls from Phoenix, from Clover, South Carolina. You ever heard of Clover, South Carolina?
No,
because I sure haven't.
Nope.
What is that? Westerly, Rhode Island.
Westerly, yeah.
Pikesville, Maryland. I got one from Oregon recently. I got one from, where else did I get one from recently? Belgium, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a
Northumberland, Pennsylvania. North Dade, Florida. Deer Park, Texas. And Andrew. And Imperial, California today.
Yeah.
Andrew, they're not even trying.
No.
It's the same phone call from the same, probably AI-generated male voice that tells me, hello, I have just received your profile across my desk, and you are pre-approved for $40,000 in loans. Or it's either loans or consolidating my debt.
Solar. Mine's
right?
been solar.
And it's the same call. And you notice, too, that the reason that I pulled the voicemail log up, they're all like right about 35-ish seconds.
Yep.
Because it's the same script from the same auto-generated robot AI made to sound like a real person.
Yeah.
I can't block enough numbers. Like every time they call, I block the number. But then they call from a different number.
It's a different number. And then the one thing that I've been getting, which I love, is they call, but they immediately hang up. So you get the one ring. And then a second later, it's the same number calling you again. And then you get the full dial. And it's like, oh my gosh. And everyone, for me at least, have all been from New York.
Oh, see, you're getting them just from New York. Mine are all over the place.
The entire state of New York, from top to bottom, have called me. Every county.
Are you wanted in New York that we don't know about?
I don't know. I'm not answering them, so I don't know.
You might be evading arrest at this point.
It's been a while since I've been there.
Here's the transcript, because you know how iPhones like transcribe your voicemails?
Yep.
Quote, your file just landed on my desk to finalize. If you're ready to move forward, press 2. Now to connect with underwriting. Now this is all one sentence, of course. They stop. You're still pre-approved for up to $45,000 with estimate payments around $610 a month. Depending on an option that works best for you, this is personal consolidation loan I designed to help simplify things by rolling multiple high-interest debts into one manageable monthly payment, so you can also give us a call. They give the number. Or just press 2. And by the way, the number they provide is never the number that they called from. So the number they provide is clearly their service center.
It's their service
center. Right, to
center.
set up the scams.
Yeah. Do we start spamming their service center?
Nah, see, because from what I've heard, the moment that... So here's the problem. And by the way, if you're watching on our Samsung, Roku, any of our streaming platforms, thanks for hanging out with us. You can head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show. It is officially time for overtime. So here's what they do. They're targeting older people. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean this to be like a knock on older generations, but they are targeting vulnerable people. Yeah. And more times than not, that's the older generation. What they are trying to get you to do is answer the phone and use the word yes. Because the moment you use the word yes, they have you on recording saying yes. And then they're going to scam you into agreeing to whatever.
Yeah.
By using that clip of you saying yes.
Yes.
Now, granted, I guess theoretically you could come on this show and pull it just like I just did it.
Sure, you could.
But that's how they're trying to do it on the phone. They're tracking your location and they're trying to get you to buy in. But I think specifically with our generation, Andrew, before spam calls became as prevalent as they are, if I don't have your number saved, I'm not answering the phone.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah,
even if it's somebody important, you can leave a message. I'll call you back.
The only way I know that it's a spam call is because you have the caller ID on the phone.
Sure.
So 9 times out of 10, a spam call is going to just be the location, and then that's it. But if it's someone who's actually trying to get a hold of you, it will come up with whatever person's name or their company's name or something like that. And then I'm like, okay, maybe this is a number that I should answer. Now, sometimes you do get duped and you answer it and they're trying to sell you solar panels for a house that you don't own.
Right, correct.
But, that's the one thing is you got to be careful.
And Peel and Onions brings it up. It's actually become one of my favorite subcategories of YouTube is people that mess with the scammers.
Oh, I love that stuff. Yeah.
It's like they'll call up and they pretend to be an elderly lady or, somebody who truly does. Hello? I don't want to go to jail. And they modify their voice, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll give you my credit card information. And meanwhile, they're scamming the scammers out of thousands of dollars. Yeah. It's hysterical. But it's this is so rampant at this point, there's no way to stop it. It's just so, and I know it's not just me and it's not just you, but this week has felt like it's really been a problem.
What can we do to stop it? Because everybody's going through this. This is an epidemic. Yeah. This is a major epidemic. Someone said robo-killer. You can use, I know there are apps out there that you can use, but I think it was Peel and Onions who said it. And he was right, or they were right. It will block out numbers that you don't have saved on your phone. So if someone's trying to contact you who you need to get and talk to, they'll get blocked.
Sure.
And then it's okay, well, I can't get a hold of them.
All right, let's save the fun baseball conversation for next week because it's an evergreen conversation. I'll leave you with this. The preface of the conversation. My wife and I were sitting down watching the Phillies the other night, and she turned to me and said, "If you had to get a hit off of a major league player, you could pick any pitcher you want, but you can't leave the box until you get a legitimate hit with fielders in the field. Who are you picking?" I'll let you mull that over this weekend.
Okay.
Because I immediately, went to baseballsavant.com and looked at velocities. So we'll talk more about that. But I'll leave you all with that conversation for this weekend. Right. If you could pick any major league pitcher currently active and you had to step into the box and you could not leave the box until you got a base hit, first of all, you're going to be there all day and probably longer. But second of all, who would you pick? Think about it over the weekend. We'll talk about it more on Monday. I hope everybody has an excellent weekend. Enjoy the Phillies and Braves series coming up. Hopefully the Phillies offense takes shape a little bit more than it did this weekend or this week against the Astros. Maybe they'll score some runs along the way. This weekend's pitching matchups tonight, it's Bryce Elder and Mick Abel. Tomorrow, Spencer Schwellenbach and Jesus Luzardo. And then on Sunday, it is Spencer Strider and Ranger Suarez. Phillies and Braves for 3 in Atlanta for the third series against the Braves already this year. But we'll be back on Monday to discuss it. So big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing today's show. Big thank you to everybody in the chat, whether it be Colby or K-Red or Peel and Onions, Ray Schumacher, James. Who else did I miss? Nick, Futz. And again, I know they're giving out your names now all of a sudden. AC Phillip, Pat Ryan, who was here earlier. They're giving out your names, I guess, all of a sudden now, which is kind of crazy. But hello and thank you to everybody in the chat. John Peace, thank you. Tune on over to the PHLY Eagles show, which is on now at 2 o'clock. PHLY Sixers at 3 o'clock as they get you kind of post-draft coverage. And then tonight, beginning 7 o'clock, Andrew?
I believe so, 7 o'clock, yes.
7 o'clock tonight, the PHLY Broad Street Hockey crossover as the Flyers draft is tonight. The NHL draft is tonight. The Flyers will select tonight, we believe, unless something crazy happens and they make a trade. But I believe the Flyers will be selecting tonight and could select a player that will go along with Matvei Michkov and perhaps Jet Luchenko and Trevor Zegras and all the young guys that the Flyers are acquiring, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk a little bit more about that on Monday. So have an excellent weekend. Enjoy the Phillies and the Braves. Enjoy the PHLY Flyers Broad Street Hockey live show at Chicky and Pete's in South Philly, and have an excellent weekend. We will see you here on Monday at 1 o'clock for the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.